Yo soy un ángel. Y tú eres un demonio. Enemigos históricos.
Well, I read it when it came out, almost 30 years ago now. I was at drama school here in London, and I had already read Neil's Sandman. I started to read Neil's Sandman comic book, so I knew of Neil, and so when I saw this book had come out, I got it and read it, and it became, I was 18, 19, and it became a sort of, seminal book for me, like it is for so many people. So I came to this project as a fan of the book, and so I knew how beloved the book was, and how much sort of expectation there was around the adaptation.
And I came from the completely opposite direction. I didn't know anything about it. I got this script.
You hated the book, in fact.
I hated the book. I was avoiding it, actively avoiding it. No, I didn't. I just didn't know it. And then I got this wonderful script. I wanted to do the job. Then went back and discovered the book, and was completely transported by this brilliant, bonkers world and these extraordinary characters.
Faltan pocos días para el Armagedón y hemos perdido al Anticristo. Tenemos que colaborar.
No tenemos nada en común. Ni siquiera me caes bien.
Uy, que no.
Well, I can't imagine what it would have been like without him, really, now. He was, like, as you say, the showrunner, he was sort of there on set every day. He was at the heart of every kind of choice, really, along with working alongside Douglas, the director. And because he had done the adaptation himself as well, I think if anyone else had done it, they would have, as you say, they would have sort of normalised it, because it is a crazy, all over the place kind of story. And I think people would have tried to fit it into a box, whereas Neil was sort of able to not only allow it to have the spirit of the original, but also to have the courage to kind of bring different things into it. So there's lots of stuff that's not in the book as well. And I can't imagine anyone else being able to do that.
Yeah, I think it's quite commonly known that it was being developed as a movie for years and years and years. And I think it needed that extra space. It needed those extra hours, because this part of the joy of this is the way the story kind of meanders and goes off at tangents and takes you places you weren't expecting it to go. And again, I think it needed the bravery and the kind of the particular way that Neil's brain works to sort of move that, keep it sort of intact from the book, and the flavour of that on screen.
And he felt such a strong sense of duty towards Terry Pratchett as well, I think, because Terry obviously is not around. And so I think that helped in some ways, that he wanted to do it for Terry. And so as long as he felt like the spirit of it was there and that Terry would approve, then I think he sort of felt able to then play around with things and change things.
Si no lo encontramos, no será la guerra que acabe con todas, sino la guerra que acabará con todo.
Adán, ¿a dónde iremos?
Al fin del mundo. No queda lejos.
Well, the world has changed a lot since then, hasn't it?
It certainly has, yeah. I suppose there is a sense that the end of days feels all too accessible to us in this current moment of history. So I suppose that feels very prescient. It feels very current. It wasn't necessarily the same world that the book was written in, but I think whenever you tell a story, it reflects the period that you're telling it in. And I think it's hard not to notice that when you're telling the story about the end of days, in a moment when, history has some very sharp corners at the moment, I think you will inevitably draw those conclusions,
And I think not only around the dangers of, the end of days and all that kind of stuff, but also just the absurdity of our story, the kind of crazy, the fact that the idea that anything could happen at any point. I think that's part of how we feel these days as well at the moment.
El mundo no va a acabarse él solo. Van a llegar los 4 jinetes del apocalipsis, guerra, porción, hambre, muerte.
¿Quién los ha invocado?
No tengo ni idea.
They're sort of codependent.
Completely codependent. They are the yin to each other's yang. Yeah, they've been on Earth representing their respective head offices since the dawn of time, and they're pretty much alone. They've not got anyone else. They've kind of abandoned, as the years have gone on, and they've sort of started cutting corners. They kind of cut themselves off from their own people, as it were, and yet they're living amongst mortal people with whom they have very little in common. So they've only really got each other. And
even though they're surrounded by people, it's a little bit like they're on a sort of supernatural island together. So they're kind of bound together, and no one else can know what that's like other than them. So it's sort of brought them closer and closer, I think, isn't it?
El fin del mundo empieza aquí.
¡En Inglaterra no tenemos tornados!
¡Pues hoy sí!
El sabueso ha encontrado a su amo.
¿Seguro?
¿Te mentiría yo?
Tú eres un demonio, a esa te dedicas.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think so. I think they are very human, although they're playing supernatural creatures. When you see them in relation to the actual angels and the actual devils, who are very fundamental in their approach, they are very nuanced. They've embraced the shades of grey that humanity has all around them. So they're almost the most human characters in the piece.
Yeah, it's their flaws that I think is attractive to an audience, and certainly what makes them become closer is that they've sort of rubbed off on each other a bit. Yeah.
Estamos condenados.
Hola, fin de los tiempos.
Un placer conocerte.
No nos rendiremos.
Dale comienzo a la guerra.
No tiene por qué haber una guerra.
Pues claro que sí. ¿Cómo íbamos a ganar si no?
It's not like anything I've done before.
No, it's bonkers, but wonderful to have that scale. You'd show up for one scene set in the French Revolution, and there was an entire cell had been built. It was wonderful to be. I think to tell a story with this kind of scale and scope, you needed the resources that luckily we have. I mean, we didn't have a limitless budget, but it was a good budget, and I think it was very well utilised and spent.
And on most jobs that you do, even jobs you really enjoy, there's usually like one scene every now and again that you look forward to, and you think, oh yeah, we're doing that on Thursday. But that was kind of every scene on this. It was either something to look forward to because we got to dress up and do something kind of crazy, or because we went to a really interesting location, or because just the scene itself was a brilliant scene to play, or that some other actors were coming in who we were big fans of to play other parts. So there was every single scene had something that was really, really enjoyable to look forward to.
Hay batalla entre el cielo y el infierno.
Por el mundo.
Por el mundo.